If you want to just go to the next page, please. So thanks everyone for joining this session. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your afternoon to be with us, and we're really happy to be here kind of presenting to you, but more so answering kind of Q&A in the panel discussion. So we have 4 panelists, myself included, and we'll get into introductions in a bit, but we're all from the PepsiCo SWE Plano chapter, so based out of the DFW area. Just a few like housekeeping as per probably any Zoom meeting you've been on recently or will be on in the future. So we just ask that you mute yourself to reduce background noise when you're not speaking. Would love for you guys to come off mute to ask questions if you're comfortable doing that, or you can use the chat feature. We can all see the questions that get asked there, or they'll be read if we miss them while we're speaking. We would love also to see you. So if you want to turn your video on, you're comfortable doing that, that would be really nice to make it a little bit more personal. And the meeting's being recorded. I think that was already said, so I don't need to touch on that too much. But I guess with that, then we'll just transition into introductions, and I'll let Rachel go first.
Right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining tonight. My name is Rachel Madden. I'm a chemical engineer from the University of Florida, and I've been with PepsiCo for about 2 years now. And I am an engineer in our R&D function, working on the packaging equipment team. And I also am the co-lead of the PepSWE chapter in Plano.
Megan Sullivan. I have a degree in biological engineering from Penn State University, and I currently work in the global procurement function as a buyer of energy, so electric power and renewables. I've been at PepsiCo for about 3 years, and I am based out of Dallas. And as part of SWE, I'm a part of the outreach committee with Tayo.
Thank you, Megan. Hi, everyone. Really excited to be here today. My name is Maria Jose Mendizabal. I have a master's on food engineering. I am originally from Guatemala, so I went to school to Mexico and France. And I have been here with PepsiCo almost 6 years now. I'm also an R&D engineer, but more part in the product development side of things. And I also co-lead the Plano chapter for SWE in partnership with Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Tayo Pedro, and I've been with PepsiCo for about 4 years. My degree is in food engineering, a bachelor's in food engineering from The Ohio State University. And I currently work in global procurement on the flexible packaging team, specifically on sustainability as well as growth and innovation items. And I, as Megan mentioned, work on the outreach team with her. So with that, we can dive right in. So we thought we'd start out with a Mentimeter to kind of loosen things up, get you guys participating and involved. And so this is the question that stuck out to me is, why do you love being a SWE member? For us, being a part of SWE obviously was important enough to us that we continued into our professional career. So we'd love to know what brought you to the organization. And you can either scan the QR code or go to menti.com and type in the code at the top of the screen. And let me go ahead and start with show results. And Megan, Rachel, Maria Jose, feel free to add in your 2 cents as well.
Thanks.
I love being a SWE member because I get to meet so many amazing women engineers all the time, and it got me through college.
Yes, I see women empowering women. We love that. Having a community, yes, that continues into adulthood and your career. Pursue their passion. Friends, definitely. Networking. Love these. Greater outreach of women. Opportunities, yes, the opportunities are endless. Awesome. These are definitely great responses and all reasons why we continued on into our career being a part of SWE. All right, I think that's about it for the Mentimeter, but do you guys have any input, any thoughts from the PepsiCo team on additional reasons why we love being a part of SWE?
I think personally, I didn't have SWE at college, but I think coming into PepsiCo here in the US and a lot of the things that are mentioned in the screen, the community and having friends, it was really welcoming. And I think, like Rachel told me, I think it helped me through my relocation and just getting ready in my job. So, yeah.
I love that. Yes, definitely a sense of community and women empowering women for me. Great. And we can go ahead and get started. Sorry, guys, this thing's a little... There we go.
Awesome. So yeah, at PepsiCo, we have a lot of what we call employee resource groups. So SWE kind of falls into that category within PepsiCo. But as you guys know, SWE is a little bit different because SWE is a huge global organization that a lot of universities participate in, that other companies participate in, that engineers all over the world participate in. So that's what makes PepsiCo and SWE's partnership a little different. But at the end of the day, it's very similar to a lot of our other resource groups for employees, just to make sure that they are getting set up with a community that will help them be as successful as possible in their career. So we wanted to share with you guys some of our overall goals and missions for 2021. Overall, we'd like to leverage the relationship between PepsiCo and SWE to both attract and retain women in STEM. Overall positively impacting PepsiCo's gender parity goals in both R&D and supply chain, and really throughout the whole company. We just call out R&D and supply chain here because that's where the majority of the engineers go within PepsiCo, but definitely, you know, as we mentioned, we have Megan and Tayo who are in procurement as well. So we accept all kinds of people from all functions, just focused on associates in the STEM field. So within those two goals and two pillars, we have attract and retain. So attract is more focused on our recruiting strategy and making sure that we're leveraging SWE as a great diversity and inclusion resource, and making sure that we're bringing in the best possible talent from engineers all over the world, really. And then retain is more focused on the members that we have within PepsiCo now. So these are the great events that we'll host for our members that both encourage, networking, a sense of community, a lot of those things that we talked about before with the question of why do you join SWE? So retain is really focused on making sure that everyone is engaged and getting a lot of resources, whether it's through webinars or different trainings and professional development events, to really set women up for success in the workplace and make sure that everyone is feeling supported as a woman in STEM. Okay, so a little more detail on Attract. So we're definitely going to be leveraging things like the We21 conference and virtual career fairs now that we're doing everything virtually, just to make sure that we're reaching out to, like I said, the best talent that the SWE organization has to offer. And also at the We21 conference, we're always making sure that we're participating in all the different talks and panels. So for those of you who maybe are freshmen or new to the SWE organization, SWE hosts a giant conference every year in the US, and it's always in a different location. And this year has been virtual. This year it's going to be a hybrid. And at the We21 conference, there's a giant career fair, and there's also a lot of talks and panels from a variety of women engineers who are professionals or academics. And PepsiCo always submits talks and panels to showcase our associates and all the great work that they're doing as well. So if you do get a chance to go to conference this year, would definitely recommend going to some of those talks. I always enjoyed, hearing from women engineers and what their jobs are like, just to kind of get an idea of what I might want to do. But we definitely are leveraging this career fair as well to attract new talent, and that's internships as well as full-time hires will come from this conference. So that's one of the biggest focuses of our Attract goal in PepsiCo.
Thank you, Tayo. Yes, and digging in a little bit more in detail on the retain pillar. So we are divided within PepsiCo in different chapters, specifically more into regions. So as we are representing today here is the Plano chapter, and we really, this is a really strong pillar for us to make sure that we also focus in our current employees and a lot of the things that we talked at the beginning about that community sense, support, and development. So uh, here in Plano, we are divided in three main committees or groups that tackle different objectives into this retain piece. So one is webinars and workshops, and this is kind of like what is alluding to into the left page of this slide, where we host different events that look into development of our employees. And in what here is showcasing is, for example, a workshop that we had last year during COVID that it was virtual, break your own rules, really looking into development of leadership skills mainly. Another important pillar is networking, where we will, or fun activities that we host during the year to build that community sense. So that's the picture that you are seeing here, a holiday party that we also had virtual. And the third pillar is really focusing on outreach and our relationship with the community in Dallas or the area. And that's some of the activities that we are having today with you. And another big piece that looking at more broader within leveraging the tools that SWE has available. And I think some of you are already aware of the multiple materials that are available for us within the memberships with SWE. So also being able to have those within PepsiCo, it delivers different tools that the people can leverage to develop different skills. And I think these last slides also wanted to share with you, alluded a little bit to what Rachel mentioned earlier into the part of outreach. The PepSui brother is having an info session where they will be sharing more information about internship opportunities on September 14th, so coming pretty soon. And thank you, Rachel, for just sharing the link. So you can sign up in there, and based on that, they will send you the invite if you are interested in attending. And if you have any questions, please let us know and we'll address them.
Awesome. Thanks, Maho. So I think we just shared a little bit of background on how we have continued to participate in SWE as professionals at PepsiCo. It's exciting for us to work at a company that is so supportive of SWE and really has a great partnership with it, especially coming into the company as a new person, you're kind of trying to meet people and get your feet on the ground kind of thing. So this has been a really helpful organization for us. So that we just wanted to quickly go through those that presentation. If you have any questions about PepsiCo and SWE's partnership together, or our role within PepsiCo, what our jobs are like, those kinds of questions, we're going to open the floor to questions at the end. I also have some questions that we've prepared ahead of time that I'm going to ask our panelists. So I'll kind of serve as a moderator, and you guys can hear about all of our careers and our growth and journey with PepsiCo so far. So if you could think of any questions that we're not covering, feel free to throw them in the chat, or we'll have some time at the end if you'd like to go off mute and ask questions. So with that, Tayo, if you want, we can stop sharing and just have our faces on display.
Awesome. Thanks. I think I stopped sharing.
Okay, awesome. So the first question that I want to bring to everyone is, how has SWE helped and supported you as a professional? So we've talked about it a little bit, but if you could give any stories or examples, or just in general, how SWE has helped you since starting at PepsiCo.
Yeah, I can go ahead. So I didn't mention, I started out in supply chain actually, and I started out in supply chain and operations. So that was in Worcester, Ohio, and I relocated to Dallas, the Dallas area, our Plano office, about 2 years ago, and switched departments to global procurement. And so obviously I'm trying to meet new people, network, understand my new environment, and SWE was one of those organizations that enabled me to meet peers from different functions and get involved in the PepsiCo community at our Plano headquarters and outreach as well and beyond. So I think it gave me a sense of grounding, which our ERGs in general do in building a new network or establishing yourself early in your career.
Yeah, I can add to that a little bit too. So I have spent my 3 years at PepsiCo in one function, and global procurement is a little bit less of a technical function. So coming out of an engineering degree, I went into a less technical role, but still sort of using some of my engineering skills. So something that PepsiCo SWE has been really helpful for me is introducing me to people in other functions to be able to learn about the roles and responsibilities that they have that are more technical, to understand kind of where I want to go next in my career. Within a global company, there's a lot of opportunities to not be stuck in one function or stuck in one role, like Tayo moved functions. So that's something that I've used the SWE community for, to understand what do other functions do, like R&D or supply chain, and is that something that later in my career I'd be interested in trying.
Thank you. I think I can relate a lot to what Tayo and Megan have shared, and something I feel that has been helpful as well for me is that, as you mentioned, in PepsiCo, in SWE, there's a lot of functions that are part of, but also in terms of levels as well, in more senior, and juniors. So being able to find that network and even be able to connect and find mentors in this community has been helpful for me as well.
Yeah, I would agree with all of you guys. I think SWE's been really helpful in helping me meet other people and just hear about, roles that maybe I wouldn't have heard of originally. Being in packaging and even in R&D, sometimes, you kind of only interact with a few people on your team. So it's always good to meet other engineers in other functions. And Megan, I especially like what you mentioned about maybe, you end up in a less technical role, but you can still meet people and hear about their technical projects and see, oh, that sounds really interesting. I would love to be more involved with that. So kind of going off of that, how many engineering fundamentals or things from your actual degree do you think you use in your day-to-day? Because I know a lot of people who are in college are kind of wondering that, I'm learning all of these very theoretical scientific things. Am I actually going to apply this? So I'd be interested to hear from all of you.
I can go first.
Go ahead, Maho.
Oh, thank you. Just wanted to share. Yes, my background maybe is really specific in food engineering, and I am in product development. So really for me is every day and in every project. And so all the fundamentals of chemistry as we develop products is there every day. So I feel that I feel really lucky and grateful that I am able to continue applying and learning through that. And I feel even having that perspective of also the fundamentals, but experience in the floor, as we say, or the plant, and with our subject matter experts have even strengthened that. So I think that's my experience.
I can say maybe on the other end of the spectrum. So I'm in procurement, which is a little bit less of a technical function and a technical role. But there are actually a lot of, surprisingly, when I joined procurement, I learned there were a lot of people with engineering backgrounds in the function. So I think what I use the most is maybe not the technical skills in my food engineering classes, but more so the critical thinking and the problem solving skills that I learned in all my engineering courses applied to my today's role. So a lot more of like the data analytics and things like that I'm using from a procurement perspective.
Yeah, and I can go ahead. So as I mentioned, I started out in supply chain, and obviously with that being a more technical function, I used more engineering principles, and specifically being in a plant, food engineering and unit operations were definitely essential to know. But as Megan mentioned, being in procurement, technical spaces kind of creep up on you. We work closely with R&D, and it's been nice to I guess participate in those technical conversations with our R&D team as well as suppliers, and understand and engage on a level that people possibly with maybe a business degree wouldn't have the background to do. So you kind of serve as a bridge between the two functions, which is nice.
Yeah, I think for me, I recently have been, coming up with trials and test plans. So I think one of the most valuable things I learned from my chemical engineering degree was coming up with plans and how to test something and how to get the data that you need. So if I could give anyone advice, I'd say, really take your lab seriously. And that's all good learnings, even though sometimes when you go into a lab, you don't get the data that you need, and it's really frustrating, but that's how life is too. So yeah, I think that's part of one part of my degree I use the most, at least right now. So kind of going off of that thought, I wanted to ask our group, what advice would you give to engineers who are still in college? So for everyone on the call now, I don't know if we have a lot of freshmen or sophomores or even juniors and seniors. What advice would you give them as they're working towards their engineering degree and going into industry or into grad school?
I can go. I guess the one thing I would have wanted to hear is to be open. So whether that's to fields or departments that you didn't know existed, and trying to seek out as much knowledge about what job opportunities are out there and what interests you, and placing less focus on which type of engineering degree you got, and specifically finding a job in that like major or that field. So I changed my engineering degree various times throughout college. I was industrial, I was environmental, and ultimately it didn't really matter. I think the fundamentals and the principles are there, and a lot of what we do, we learn on the job. So be open to new experiences, and don't let yourself get too caught up in making sure that you're in the field that you went to school for.
I think for me, like my younger self, the advice that I would have wanted was, and I think I got, and I didn't really realize how valuable it was until now, is just take advantage of all the opportunities you have for career fairs and meeting with people from industry as early and as often as you can. I remember I had a professor my freshman year that was part of my freshman year seminar required that we went to the career fair, and no freshmen really were eligible for any job opportunities or internship opportunities at that point. But just going and practicing meeting with people and practicing your elevator pitch and all of that was such a great learning to then, when I was a junior and a senior, when it mattered, I wasn't as nervous for it. So I think that's something that is just generally, like everyone on this call, regardless of what year you are, it's great to do that. And then I think, to sort of Tayo's point, is when you graduate, don't expect that like your learning stops. So I was debating, do I go to grad school or do I go work? And the amount that I've learned in 3 years of working is far more than I ever learned in college. So I think, to Tayo's point, is like you can learn on the job, and there's a lot of value to being able to learn on the job. So there's a lot of benefit that comes post college as well.
Thank you. And yes, just to add, and really, I can relate to a lot to what Tayo just shared. And I think the only thing that I would add, I think, is related to keeping you being curious, as there is time. So maybe you find something and you don't like it, and then you try another thing, and just by trying it and being part of that field and in those classes, or even already when you are already at work, like it's always evolving. So yeah, being curious, I think it helps for you to build that.
Awesome. Yeah. So changing gears just a little bit, as you guys are getting ready for career fair, I'm sure, later on in your college career, you'll be getting ready to talk to recruiters in different companies and figuring out what industry you want to go to, what you want to go to grad school for. So I'd like to ask everyone what.
Rachel, I think you cut out a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Question was, what made you choose PepsiCo, and what about the culture do you like?
I can start with this one. So I chose PepsiCo as an intern. So as an undergrad, I decided to intern with PepsiCo. And the reason I did was really because of the people. The people that I met that worked at PepsiCo were very knowledgeable, and I was very impressed by their willingness to want to help other people succeed and learn. So that was really the thing for me. I think I wanted to work for a company that cared about people at all levels, even an intern who's still in college. And so that was really what sold it for me.
Thank you for sharing, Megan. I think myself, I didn't have the opportunity to have an internship with PepsiCo, but from the outside, the first thing why I wanted to be part of this company was because it is global, and I feel already being here inside, like the